Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Investor More, and I'm outside the liquor store and mini-mart I bought about a year and a half ago, and things have been going really well, and I actually had someone make an offer to buy it from me. It's not for sale, it was an unsolicited offer. We'll talk about what was said, what happened, and if I decided to sell the store or keep it. And we've also been doing really well. We've had record profits, so we'll show you the sales and profit on the store here at the end with the charts I make that show all of that. And of course, there's always some issues too, like one of the people in the apartment upstairs has been smoking the stuff he's not supposed to smoke in the apartment, and it's been stinking up the store. So hopefully we've got that fixed a little bit. But I guess that's one of the downsides of having apartments above your business. And but that's something we can take care of. The trees look good. They need a little bit of trimming. The outside looks pretty good. We're still having issues getting enough ice, and I've been trying to find a possible ice machine and freezer, but those are hard to find as well. But we are getting enough to get by for right now. So here's the inside of the store. We're always adding inventory, adding new beers, adding different stuff. So that's really good to see. In the beginning, that was our main goal, was adding more inventory because the store was so barren. There's so few choices. And we've gone through a number of managers, which I've talked about before. Our current manager, Kathy, is just doing a great job. So that's really good to see. She's always adding new stuff and doing a lot of things without me having to do hardly anything. So that's been great to see. And adding IPAs and different things, which are always nice, and lots of different choices. So as far as profits go, the least expensive an item is, usually the higher your profit margin is. So a lot of the single cans, cheaper stuff actually is what makes us the most money, and higher end stuff makes you the least amount of money and costs you the most inventory. So this store, even though it doesn't have a ton of selection, a ton of inventory, actually does very well. And it's been kind of a neat little niche for me in a small town with no other competition nearby. So that's been nice. Here's our back storage room, which we've worked on organizing and keeping inventory at a reasonable number, which is, we've done pretty well at. But I walking around other liquor stores and seeing other liquor stores, and the person who wanted to buy this actually owns another liquor store that I checked out. A lot of them don't even have back rooms. They just have all of their inventory stacked out in the showroom, and a lot of them have just boxes and boxes of stuff, kind of messy looking. So it's nice having a back room. And I noticed so many more things now if I go to a liquor store or other businesses that I didn't notice before, about where their inventory is, how they're all set up, how they're how clean they are, things like that. So it's been interesting for sure. But like the shooters, stuff like that, definitely some of our highest profit margin items. So while you guys can take a peek at that, which I know you've seen a lot, I had someone message me, or they text me saying they want to buy a liquor store, convenience store in Pierce, Colorado is where this store's at. I'm like, okay. I'm like, I was kind of weird. They didn't really give me much background information, just sent me a text. And I said, here's the walk-in cooler, by the way, which is so nice in the summer, except our summer's been so cold here in Colorado that it hasn't mattered, although it's starting to warm up now. It's only like 60 degrees last week for a high in Colorado in July, which is crazy cold. Anyway, this person had gotten my number somehow, said, you do commercial real estate, right? I said, yes. And I don't know if he knew I owned the store or not. I think he must have. But I said, I don't want to sell it. It's doing great. He asked me about it. I told him a little bit about the apartments upstairs, about the business. And he's like, okay, I want to buy it. I'm like, I don't want to sell it. Sorry. And he just kept texting me and said, okay, when can I meet you there? And I'll meet you there on Monday. I'm like, sorry, I'm not going to be there. And so I kind of left it at that for a while. And then he texted me again the next week and said, hey, I own a liquor store. Come see me. We'll talk about it so we can meet. And so it was only a block or two away from where I was when he texted me. So I thought, okay, I'll go in there. I talked to him, met him, and told him again the same thing. Hey, I'm not really looking to sell. It's doing great. And he was just insistent on, he wanted to buy it. He needed a price, give him a price. And so I went back and looked at the numbers and figured out a price. And it's a very high price, but it's not an unreasonable price when you look at all the numbers. So I'll show you exactly how I came up with this price here in just a little bit. But I told him 1.5 million, and I paid 610,000 for the building and the business. But I did separate the business from the building. They're separate. We rented apartments, increased some of the rents on them, so we added income. The liquor store mini-mart is paying rent to the building, so there's value in the building, collecting rent from those businesses and the apartments. Plus, there's value in the business itself, which is doing well. Plus, there's value in the inventory, which you hold as well. And I do get emails and information all the time from commercial business brokers sending me other liquor stores in the area for sale, other businesses. So I have a pretty good idea of what they're asking. I don't always know what they sell for, but I know what kind of the numbers are that they ask for. So I can show you kind of how you value the business and value the building too, and why I came up with that number. And then, of course, what he said afterwards. So just a few things here in the store before we get to that. Out of milk, which is very frustrating, but our vendor is bringing some. We were supposed to have extra milk they gave us, and they gave us too little this time. So, but with the new manager, it's very rare we're out of anything. So we've been trying to make sure we have systems in place so we don't run out of stuff. And the people of the town have been very kind and said it's so much better than it was before, and it's so nice to have all these different items you have. And so it has been improving greatly, and our sales have been increasing significantly, and we'll show you those sales here at the end as well too. Or maybe I'll show you the sales, and then we'll talk about the value of the property and how I came to that value, because that is kind of an important part on how the value of the business is calculated. Here's our back storage room, and as you know, many of you know, I bought a laundromat and car wash soon, and I always thought about putting kind of a little laundromat in this back room because that's an outside wall over there, and having just a few washers and dryers. We'll see how the laundromat I just bought goes before we do anything crazy like that. But that's always in the back of my mind. Every time I come in this room, it's like, ooh, we could shrink this up a little bit and make just a little room back there. Now here are the sales, and I make this nifty chart, which I always like to watch. But the green number is the sales number. The red is the gross profit, so basically the cost of goods subtracted from our sales. And then the blue is the net profit minus our utilities, rent, wages, things like that. And these aren't exact numbers, but they're pretty close to what it shows. And in the beginning, when we made money, pretty much all of it went back into the business, inventory, repairs, things like that. Now we're starting to see that money add up, and it's been pretty nice to see that. So as you can see, we had a slow summer, and then things have taken off lately, and we broke $22,000 in 1 week for the first time ever. Really cool to see. We'd barely broken 20,000 twice in about 14 months, and then we broke through 20,000 a few times, then broke through 21,000, which was cool. And I think the last 2 weeks we've been at 21,900 and something. And it's like, come on, just get through to 22,000, and we broke through 22,000 last week. Thanks to 4th of July, which is always nice. So we were open part of 4th of July, which still is a good day, and the day before that was a great day. So the sales numbers are always good to see. And of course, we're having to look at margins and make sure when our costs are going up, we are raising prices a little bit. We're trying not to gouge people, but costs are definitely going up, for our cost of goods too. So we have to be careful. A lot of the goods we were selling when I bought the store, we're selling for less than it cost us to buy them, which is not a good way to do business. So we've tried to fix that. But now that we've seen the sales, let's take a look at how this building is valued and the business valued based on those sales. So here are my fancy numbers I made. I apologize for this. So the liquor store value, we're doing the building first. So you would value that based on the rents coming in. Apartment number 1 is $1,500 a month. Apartment number 2, $700 a month. Apartment number 3, $700 a month. And we could actually raise the rents on 2 and 3 if we wanted to. Apartment 2 might be not that much, but apartment 3 should be at least $1,000, $1,100 a month. It had a very long-term tenant in there. So we raised their rents a little bit actually when we bought it, but not very much. And then the store pays $28.31 in rent a month. So total, the rent is $5,731 on the building. So to get the value, I'm just using a gross rent multiplier. Very simple, easy. I could go through all the expenses and everything, but I don't want to do that. And, I don't want to just take the time for that right now. Maybe if the buyer got more serious, we would, which will give you a hint on what happened. But you multiply the total rent by 12, which is $68,772 a year, and you divide that by the gross rent multiplier, which is about 8 in our area. It could be different in your area. It's kind of based off the cap rates and what they go for. So if we get that number, we come up with $859,650 for the value of the building. Now that's tricky. It's a small town, but I used a higher gross rent multiplier than I would have in a larger town. I paid $610,000 for the building and business, but it's all together. And it wasn't selling, but it wasn't rented for as much. It wasn't making as much money. So I think in theory it would be worth at least $800,000 for just the building, maybe a little bit more. And especially if we raise rents, then definitely a lot more. And so sometimes you might have a little bit extra value in the building because you could raise rents to get more in the future. Now, what is the business worth? So net income is about $10,000 a month right now, but that can be tricky with businesses. So while it makes $10,000 a month now, it wasn't making $10,000 a month in winter. And was that because of our manager, how the store was run, or was it just because of timing? So really, to get a true business value, you want to have at least a year of financials. Our year of financials will not show $10,000 a month in profits, but it is doing more than that technically right now if you just look at the last month or so. So it could be in that range. And then a lot of businesses and profits and numbers that you see from the seller are just not accurate. So it's hard to know if sometimes they aren't counting paying staff. Sometimes they aren't counting, all the different taxes and different things that go into it. Not income taxes. We won't count those, but other taxes. Sometimes just, the owner is working full time in the business 80 hours a week and not counting that. So it's always tricky to know what they're actually making. So this one is set up with management. Almost no work from the owner would have to go into it, making about $10,000 a month. So I think it's a fairly accurate number and might even be more than that based on how it's set up. Because a lot of the liquor stores and other businesses I've seen for sale are highly intensive work involvement from the owner. So it's not like they're just sitting back and doing nothing. They're doing a lot of the work. So this one would have a huge advantage in that side of it. Now, a lot of the liquor stores I've seen have been valued about a 3.5 multiplier, which means you multiply the income it's making by 3.5, which would mean the business is worth $420,000. Sometimes you see that number higher, sometimes you see it lower. And again, a lot of times those numbers are fudged and higher than they should be. And a lot of cash businesses, it's difficult too because owners don't always claim all the money that's coming in. So sometimes that number is higher and it can be very tricky valuing businesses that way. So a lot of people, want to get all the numbers and want to get all the information they can before buying a business like this. But a lot of times those numbers just aren't right or it's hard to get them, especially on small businesses like this. Now, if it's a corporation that's publicly traded, yes, all that should be much more accurate. But of course, that's not always the case either. So what does that make this whole building worth? Well, if we take the building value at $850,000, and then we add $420. Looks like I forgot my K there. We'll add $420,000 instead, and you add another $100,000 because of the inventory that the business has, and it might be more than that. I'm just giving a rough estimate right there. That makes the total value of the business, building, everything together about $1.37 million. And another advantage of this property is that the business is able to be sold with the real estate. And obviously real estate can make you a lot of money. And when you own, you're paying down the mortgage. You have more tax advantages, although with a business, all your rent is pretty much tax deductible. So, but still, I would much rather own if I'm running a business than rent. And plus, your rent is constantly going up when you're renting a space, although property taxes and insurance can go up when you're owning, but still, the value of the property goes up too, usually when you're owning as well. So I think it's actually an advantage to have the real estate and everything together too, because almost all of the liquor stores I've seen for sale are renting space and they're paying $10,000 a month in rent. It is crazy how much they pay. So a lot of advantages go with this building. And so because of that, and because I don't want to sell, I told the person I'd sell it for $1.5 million. And they, I don't think they liked that number very much, which I was expecting. And their response was, I think it's worth about $800,000. And so I don't know why they're trying to make me an offer or trying to do that when I told them over and over again I didn't want to sell it and I loved it. So obviously that deal was not made. I'm not going to sell it for that. I don't have it for sale. If someone wanted to come along and pay me $1.5 million, I would probably do that deal. But I'm not going to sell it for just a little bit more than I bought it for when it's doing so well and producing so much income. So long story short, not selling the liquor store or mini-mart. It's doing great. Sales are awesome. Oh, I just remembered I forgot to get quarters from the little horse and the gumball machine when I was up there. But that's okay. I can get those next time. And we'll have many more videos of the liquor store, mini-mart, and of course the laundromat. We're working on getting that one stabilized now, which might be a doozy here depending on what we've learned so far. And of course our other commercial properties, residential properties, multifamily properties, and all of that. All right, thanks for watching. Be back soon.